Good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to our Natural Health News live show. I am your daily host, Dr. Melissa Gallagher, and welcome for all of you new joining. This is a live show, so it's very interactive, and I welcome you to comment down below. We have a live chat for the live participants. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and I want to welcome all of you joining. I have a lot of news to report this morning. And the core topic of today's discussion after the news, I want to talk about fatigue, and not just like COVID fatigue, but literally when you're feeling tired and multiple sources or causes of fatigue, and then what you can do to combat them. So hopefully this will resonate with all of you. Good morning, Lori. We have W. Elm and Mar Family. Hi, welcome. So I'm excited to dig into some news. I've got a lot of reporting that I believe will affect a lot of our viewers, and definitely let me know all the cities and states you live in and countries, as we do have an international community here, and I do report information internationally as well. So let's dig into our news. We have worldwide, we're at 7.6 million cases. The US is almost at 2.1 million. And I have a whole bunch of data. So you guys know I'm data driven. I like to dig into information and statistics and reporting. And I'm going to highlight what's come out of the CDC. They have released specific information about states that are projecting extreme jumps. So there's a multitude of states that it's a warning from the CDC. So I'll dig into current related details with the states, and then we'll talk about which ones are at higher risk if they don't employ mitigation. And we are still in the first wave. So this has not gone away. We're seeing an incline because basically we've had over 27 states reopen against the guidelines. They haven't adhered to them. They are still in a growth mode. This quarantine the pandemic is nowhere near over, and there's a likelihood that states may have to redeploy stay-at-home orders, which is devastating. But this is the ramifications of not adhering to certain guidelines. So let's dig into some details. A few states that I want to highlight today. We've seen a growth in California and Illinois. They are number 3 and 4 in terms of where they're at. California yesterday was at 139,000. They're almost at 142,000. Illinois yesterday was at 130. As of this morning, they're at 132,000. Illinois particularly, there's a hot spot in one particular county, and I want to say it might be Cook County, sorry. Sometimes I can't read my early morning handwriting. One county, Cook County, has had an increase, particularly in the nursing home. So there's a cluster of nursing homes, our cluster within a nursing home. There are 352 patients in one nursing home that have tested positive. And nursing homes across the state, 580 homes and facilities, assisted living, SNFs, any of the kind of rehab facilities, they have 580 that have reporting cases, and they had over 349 deaths in just the nursing home communities alone. Texas, I want to report on Texas. So there's a lot of news, a lot of information out of Texas. Yesterday, they were at 81,000. Today, this morning, they're at 83,680. They've had a significant growth, and they're seeing just exponential growth. The director of health has come out. She's actually a judge. She came out and said they're on the precipice of disaster. So Texas, particularly Harris County, I believe, is it Dallas County? Harris County, where Houston and Dallas, those are two big areas. And there's multiple other communities and cities in Texas that are seeing growth. But in Harris County, ICUs are at 88% capacity. So they are reaching, potentially, if they don't get a handle on this, an inability to manage the level of care. Also, the University of Houston, you guys know I'm reporting college football details. They've had 6 players test positive. So they're on hold for a minute. But, for sure, Texas is going to be seeing potentially additional growth. Pennsylvania is at 77, almost, they're like one person away from 78,000 cases. Florida, I want to highlight Florida. You guys know I grew up in Florida. I started my business there. We moved to Georgia only 3 years ago. So Florida, I had reported several weeks ago that in early May, the state had fired their data statistician who was running and manning the public Department of Health website supporting details about the amount of cases. She was fired because they wanted her to doctor the data, and she said no, she was fired. So, sorry, I'm drinking grapefruit juice this morning. So no teas or keto coffee. I'm doing grapefruit juice if anybody's curious. Okay, so Florida, this woman just released her own website. And I want to share with you, she has set up the algorithm, all the coding. She's pulling data from multiple sources, the state, private. She's collecting hospitalizations, everything. Now, I want to highlight, if I were to tell you what I've pulled, which is what is posted out there, I would tell you Florida has 70,971 cases. Her data, that includes hospitalizations, is at 78,688. Yeah, that's a 6. So that's insane when you really think about it, because this could be a snapshot of potentially multiple states that are not reporting accuracy or accurately. So the other thing that she highlights is that the testing total, so the amount of tests that have been totaled, she actually, I didn't catch it on this screen, but she reports that the state of Florida is saying they've given 1.3 million tests. She's reporting only 895,000 tests, 947. So this is something that is going to play into a lot of information, particularly reopening. If you have governors or local mayors and companies as well. I mean, there's a lot of people pulling this data and making assessments. If the raw data is incorrect, we have a problem. And literally, Houston, we have a problem. Houston has a problem, and potentially this might be one of the challenges there too. It remains to be seen. I'm not trying to speculate, but that I think we're going to also find out more. I love that we have this info. Okay, so the other thing that, and I will post, I didn't get a chance to post all my links, but if you want to find it, it's experience.arcgis.com. This takes you right there. It is not pretty, but it's got data. So that is Florida. They had their biggest day of positive cases yesterday to date. So that is one thing to note. Michigan, we saw a second COVID positive case from the Ozarks, the people that were in the pool. So we may see more. That depends. The other thing that we're seeing, North Carolina. So do I have any folks in North Carolina? The state itself, they had their single largest day yesterday. They had the highest number of hospitalizations yesterday, significant growth. They're at 41,249, and they are growing exponentially. So that is something we're going to measure. Arizona is now up to 32,000 cases, and Puerto Rico is also having an increase in their caseloads. So that is substantial. Now, worldwide, I want to highlight Brazil. We are still getting some data from Brazil. Brazil is at 829,000 cases. They now surpassed I think it was the UK in deaths. They're now the second highest. They have the country with the second highest quantity of fatalities. Just below the US. They're at 41,828,000 deaths. In Rio alone, that city has 40,000 positive cases. India is at 310,000, and Brazil and Russia, I'm reporting them, they have 520,000 cases. So that's significant. We are going to be monitoring this really closely. I'll keep updating you. There is some additional information. If we look at trends, I've pulled some really specific data. So the states with the highest 14-day trend in terms of increases, Arizona is number one. They've had 198% increase. 14 days, they went from 338,000 cases up to 1,000 cases on a daily basis. And out of everybody who's testing positive, 12% of the test takers are testing positive. They're the only state that has double-digit percentages in terms of the individuals who are taking tests that they're actually coming back positive, which is very telling. More than likely, that's like the tip of the iceberg. Next up, the state with the second biggest trend is Utah. So Utah has increased by 137%. They started out 14 days ago at 142 cases a day. They've moved up to 337 cases. And they are almost at 10% of the individuals who are testing positive. They're at 9.4%. Now, the next state is Arkansas. And so I've been reporting Arizona, Arkansas, but Utah is that's really specific data. Potentially, we might see that increase because we now know the Vegas strip is open. Vegas is back to, it's not back to normal, but the casinos and, I just attended a conference in September. I got all these emails from the hotel and some of the restaurants I had been to. Everybody's reopening. So Arkansas, the third most increasing percentages. Arkansas has 107% increase in 14 days. They started out at 181 cases on average a day. They moved up to 377 cases. And they are the only state that's actually hitting the target of 500,000 tests a day. So that's really significant. And 8.1% of the test takers are coming back positive. Now, the next state in terms of growth, and it's not going to seem like a lot because, when you have 198% coming in fourth is South Carolina at 80% increase. That it just is, it's relative, right? It doesn't seem like a lot. It's a lot. So South Carolina was at 224 14 days ago. They have moved up to 402 reporting cases a day. They are only testing at 54% capacity. They have one of the lower side of testing. And of the people who are getting tested, 9.6% are coming back positive. The next state that has seen big growth, I've talked about this, Florida. Florida has 66%. That's even with their doctor data. So who knows what if we looked at this number, 66% probably would be way higher. So that's just based on what has been reported by the state. 66%, they've had 738 cases on a daily basis. That was 14 days ago. It's moved up to 1.2 on average a day. They are testing about 92% to capacity. So about 450,000 tests a day, and 4.1% have tested positive. Next up, I'll just say North Carolina is at 61%. Actually, Texas, I take that back. Texas is next. They're at 62% growth, and they're only testing 53% of what they should. So around probably 275,000 cases tests a day. North Carolina just hovers right underneath them at 61% increase. And then Tennessee, the next difference is just 15% increase, and that's Tennessee. So that data, I think, is really substantial. I'll post a link to that too. Now, I want to hit you guys with some humor before I go into even more crazy information today. So I have a friend, Todd, who lives in the UK. Todd and I went to undergrad together. He went off to law school, and now he lives as an expat in London. He works as an attorney for an international company there. So he posted this on his Facebook page. And this is the UK government. So it's www.gov.uk/coronavirus. They have these signs all over the city, and it says, "Help us make your pubic space safe." Not public. They misspelled it. I thought that was kind of funny. We all need a laugh. So give me a little laugh emoji or heart if you thought that was funny. But they're definitely not out of it either in the UK. So I do want to report some really specific data. So Scripps. Let me see if I've got this. I didn't print the report. It was insane. But I'm going to tell you about some research coming out of Scripps. They have studied, and this is Scripps research in Florida. They have been studying the virus, and they have found in the last 2 or 3 weeks, they have identified a mutation. So this is where we have contradictory information from the World Health Organization, who seems to be lagging behind by about 4 to 6 weeks in terms of their data. But this is straight out of Florida and out of the research facility at Scripps. They've studied a mutation that could make the virus worse. The new mutation, it's a gene mutation. The gene sequence is D614G. And it literally makes this virus stronger. What it does is it gives the virus, we know it has these like little tentacles, they're like little spikes, and that's how it implants into the body, and that's how it transmits its RNA and DNA. Well, the spikes with this new mutation, it gives it more spikes, which means it can attach more easily to the human body or the host, and it can enter the cells more easily. So you have a virus that now maybe it had, I don't know, I'm just pulling this number out. Let's just say the virus has 100 spikes. Now it has 200. I don't know what the incremental increase there is, but what that's telling us is that the virus has gotten savvier. And this is a big finding in terms of the virus. It might also be potentially behind the increases that we're seeing. I don't know. That's still really premature, but you're going to hear it first, friends, because I try and report as much impactful info as it hits. So what it does tell science is that the virus is responding quickly to external stimulus, and it's also potentially going to be a real pain when it comes to vaccinations and trying to contain this. So another note, we're in this for the long haul, which is one of the reasons why I'm trying to figure out this weekend. Brian goes to work on Monday. I am solo with little man. I don't have childcare. We're not yet bringing anybody into our home, and I still have to work. And so just like all of you are trying to figure things out, I still want to go live because I really feel like we're still in it. We are in the mud with this. We're in the weeds. And so I'll figure it out. Actually, this is the Scripps report. So I'm sorry. I did print this out. It's entitled "The D614 Gene Mutation in the SARS-CoV-2 Spike Protein Reduces S1 Shedding and Increases Infectivity." So this is going to be critical. And Lori, no one has been addressing mutation. Well, as we found out today, Scripps research has been digging into it. Yay. So, but that is really something we do need to have addressed. We do need to learn more. One of the things that is critical is that we need to set our expectations. This is a novel virus. It's novel. It's new. We don't know a lot. We're learning more. And so I'm not surprised we've got new data in the World Health Organization. I reported it. I think it might have been early this week or late last week. They said there was no mutation, wrong. Data proves additional data or previous data wrong. So we just have to also see. But this is really critical. Okay, so that's really big news. Other news, before I go into like CDC specific, other news, Tesla is getting some heat about their safety measures. Elon Musk he's so frustrated that he can't get people on his line making cars. He's talked and threatened to move out of state to go to a neighboring state like Utah, where they could having their increment, increase, where they could produce and be open. And so this health safety administrator for the facility released some information, and it's very vague. And apparently, a lot of the employees are frustrated. They are supposed to be wearing masks. They are, but apparently they're all wearing them down below their chin. They said they can't work with the masks. but they get fired without them. So they're allowing them to wear them below the neck. And I'm sure you guys probably see a lot of people doing it. We see them as well. So that is one part. Now, I also want to highlight that we're starting to, at least in the US, we're starting to see COVID survivors. Average length of stay in an ICU, or, if they're hospitalized and they're really severe, they could be in there for 4 to 6 weeks or longer. So we're starting to see folks coming out, the survivors, and the impact on the survivors. And I want to share with you a major survival challenge. Well, multiple. The first one is the cost of it. Okay, so I have a story about, I think he was 70 years old in Seattle, a 70-year-old survivor who was in the hospital for weeks. He spent 42 days in the hospital. 29 of those days he was on ventilation. He received a bill that was 181 pages thick with 3,000 itemized line items, from infusions to blood draws to the bed cost to everything. His total was $1.1 million. He has 2 insurance providers. So he has secondary insurance apart from his, I think, Medicaid. And that is going to be something that people are going to be dealing with. And we're going to hear more about this. We're at that point where we're going to start to have these people getting these bills, and it's going to be astronomical. And it is part of the care. Ventilation requires a multitude of healthcare professionals to be providing care for it. So that's something I want to put out there. But most importantly, for any of you who know somebody who survived, either they've had it and convalesced at home, or they've been in the hospital on ventilation, on oxygen, whatever it might be, there's actually a Facebook group. So it's a Facebook group called FB, so for Facebook Survivors Corp. And I will post a link to that community. But what they on the Facebook page are reporting is very similar to what we're seeing now reported by healthcare providers and the survivors themselves. There's a big, big challenge that survivors are having when they've been in the hospital. There's isolation involved. There's often heavy sedation. There's no sense of time. There's a psychological effect. There's a physiological effect they're all dealing with, but psychological, there is something that happens where they have delirium, and it hits on average any type of ICU ventilated patient on average about 65% of the time. Sometimes upwards of 80% will have PTSD and all sorts of kind of disorientation, deprivation of social contact and touch. And it literally is affecting these survivors right now. And so the disorientation and the COVID impact on the brain, they're suspecting, like, some of these folks, like there was an OT, an occupational therapist who highlighted, she was working with a patient who broke into tears and just devastated from the loss of her husband from the virus. The wife, the woman she was working on, had survived and was, fine. Not, she wasn't fine, but she was on the recovery side of COVID. Come to find out, the husband did not die, and this woman was having a hallucination, a delirious sense of disproportional reality. And that is what we are going to see with our survivors. So we are going to see a need for more mental health care. We're going to see an impact on the families, because it's going to be something that will be a major factor. So Birdhouse Barbie says, yes, also info about survivor donors on Survivor Corp. Okay, so it is something we all need to be aware of. And we might encounter these individuals. Excuse me, I have to take a little drink. I have to tell you, I have major allergies this morning. So I'm coughing and sneezing because I harvested my first bunches of kale. I haven't weighed it yet. I'm going to make kale chips today. But seriously, I'll post photos on Instagram later. I had kale, they were humongous, but I was out there doing all my stuff. So I'm kind of hoarse and definitely dealing with it. So I wanted to put this out there because we're going to see these folks potentially in our offices, our families, out and about. And so we need to be aware of that. Okay. So that's one thing. Now, so And let me know in the comments down below. Are you guys aware of that? Were you aware that that was something that was a factor for post-COVID in terms of survival? I want to dig into the CDC a little bit. They are putting out more details. Their MMWR, not as timely. You know, they're still dragging on getting this data out, but it's out. Early release for yesterday, but I didn't get to print it until like mid-afternoon. But this is new info out of the CDC. It's about public attitudes, behaviors, and beliefs related to COVID, stay-at-home orders, non-essential business closures, and public health guidance. They look at New York and LA in the first 2 weeks of May. And so they break down different groups, age, race, ethnicity, urban residence, employment status. And then they looked at folks in terms of if they supported stay at home, if they supported all these different things. So I think that's really kind of interesting. It goes a little bit into some of the debates a lot of us are having with folks who are like, masks are hurting my amendment rights, and I have no freedoms, and I'm not wearing a mask. I'll get infected, and so this goes into that. I won't dig into it. I'll post this so you can read it. But the CDC has posted their projections. So this is critical. This coincides with my reporting in terms of increases. What we're seeing here is that there are multiple states on here that are they're giving, the CDC is giving projections. So we've got where the numbers are, and then they've got an assortment of projections based on a lot of different factors. They've kind of based on counties and articulation of potentially where our numbers. This is a modeling. So this is like, hurricane season. We're in it already. This is the modeling. So they're projecting what might be the high peak in terms of fatalities and what might be the lowest peak of fatalities. So there are 6 states that come out in high points. Here's one, Arizona. So Arizona is on the high side. Look at that, really, really high. So, and this would be if they if we saw mass prevention, but more than likely that's not going to happen. We also have Arkansas. So that's my next one. Arkansas is in that modeling as well for increases. So any of you living in Arkansas, the CDC this is definitely data you probably want to highlight to your friends or family that don't believe that this is true or are kind of questioning why you're still socially distant. The next one, Hawaii. I don't know if Lois is on. We've lost one of our very supportive long-term community members for some, she doesn't believe in some of the info I've highlighted. So she lives in Hawaii, and this is information here. Hawaii's expected to have major increase in growth. I don't know why that is. But we might find out more details as we get more data. The next state that is projected to see an increase is North Carolina. Let me get to them. North Carolina. So they are projected to have an exponential growth. And then my next state, Utah, which matches up quite a bit. These numbers, this data, this is live. These increases are matching up with the modeling, and that's how they get that. So we have, where's Utah? Yeah, Utah is right here. Utah. I have to read backwards. This transposes it. So Utah is here. And we do see Texas. Texas is in there, but it's not, the growth is not as inclined. But definitely, you'll see Texas, Tennessee, South Dakota, South Carolina. I highlighted those guys here. They're also in that growth mode. Okay, so South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas. Okay, and then my last one is Vermont. Who would figure? Vermont was in kind of stable mode. Could very well be everybody's going into the mountains. There's, lakes up there, summering. I don't know, but they're projecting this on the increase. Okay, so let's see some comments. All right, universal healing is on, and I see people are getting timed out. Thanks, Pat, for your moderation. I appreciate it. We had, let's see, I want to read what Universal said. I feel like I saw something from Universal. Let me see. Oh, they're projecting higher numbers because of the tourism in Hawaii as traveling starts to increase. Okay, that makes sense. And there also might be tourism from Asia and other, like Australia, New Zealand, Pacific Rim. That might also be a factor. As they're more mobilized, they might be coming over. And I'm not making any statements about them bringing the virus with them, but that might be just some of the mode. Okay, so that, friends, that's the news of the day. Next up, I want to highlight if you're feeling tired. So any of you, raise your hand, comment, give me some emojis, hearts and likes. Let me know if you guys are feeling tired, fatigued, you're tired emotionally, you're tired mentally, you're tired physically, one or two or all three. Let me know if you feel like this is you, where you wake up feeling fatigued, you go to bed feeling fatigued, you might hit a fatigue pattern midday between like 1 and 3 p.m. You're trying to maintain energy, trying to eat well, exercising, trying to do all these things, but you just feel like you are kind of run down, really tired. Okay. So I want to talk about 9 reasons why you might have fatigue. And these are chemical in their orientation. They are going to be so there's going to be endocrine related factors. And this is something I really want to dig into in terms of really how to manage fatigue. The best way to manage fatigue, friends, is to dig into the root cause. That is what I do as a naturopath. So anything I do, I'm not a Band-Aid, and I don't offer Band-Aid solutions. I like to go in, recalibrate the core reason, and fix it from the inside. And so we're going to dig into those 9 reasons. So the first one is cortisol. So I talk a lot about this. I have probably 7 or 8 videos on stress, but cortisol is a stress hormone that is triggered by emotional, mental, physical, physiological stress, chemical stress within the body or that we're dealing with. And this virus, this pandemic, triggers all of our fight or flight mechanisms. It doesn't matter if you haven't lost your job. It doesn't matter if you're in perfect health. We're all being impacted by this. And so cortisol is something we need to address. And cortisol you can have high cortisol and feel fatigued. You can have bottom, basement level low, and malfunctioning, puttering gland that is not producing enough cortisol. Those poles can offer the same symptoms. So it's best if you test your cortisol. I posted links down below where you can grab that. But it's important that you also support your adrenals. And it's not a bad idea once or twice a year for all of us, regardless of our age, but particularly women in the 30 to 50 age range. That's a really core time that we can really support our adrenals so we don't have longer term endocrine impact. So in our 50s and 60s, we don't have thyroid imbalances. So let's talk about cortisol balancing. You can take a supplement called Reloraplex that will manage cortisol, so it can lower it when you're high. I really love the Dr. Wilson. He has a cortisol stress reset product that I have. I carry all of these in my Full Script store, which, by the way, if you want to support our channel, that's the best way to do it. I offer 10% off everything. And you sign up a patient account. So we do need your name and your email. That's why it's collected. And you have access to everything in there, skincare, protein bars, everything. But the cortisol stress reset actually addresses the pituitary and the hypothalamus. It recalibrates some of the neuroendocrine neurotransmitter imbalances as well. I love that. I also really, really love the stress suppressed tea. I drink this a lot, and I have more coming my way. This is a Tulsi rhodiola blend those are 2 adaptogenic herbs. So you can add adaptogenic herbs into your mix. For folks that are really, really chronically run down, and like if you're sitting here and you're like, well, I know my thyroid's imbalanced and I know I have hormonal imbalances. Those are all stress. The stress hormone cortisol is involved in that. It's not a bad idea for a month to take a glandular. And one of the glandulars that I'm currently taking right now, it's fantastic for balancing the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenals. And so it's a combination that will really bolster and support those glands so that they can function better. One of the things when we actually do test cortisol levels for patients, we find that when we're trying to recalibrate either lower or increase cortisol, it can take 6, 9, 12, 18 months, depending on how imbalanced they are. So, and I see some people loving the tea. I'm glad you love the tea. It's so fantastic. So that cortisol is my number 1. Number 2 is for women particularly, and even men have progesterone, but women particularly, if you're feeling run down and fatigued, it's absolutely critical we understand where your progesterone levels are. If you sit here and you're like, well, I've had an increase in my hormonal imbalances. If you have lymphedema or lipedema, yesterday's topic was great for those. I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday or maybe it was the day before? I think it was Thursday. Sorry, I'm blending my days. But regardless, if you find that you're holding more fluid in your body, you're gaining weight around the midsection, the flank, the torso, the butt, lower torso, butt, thighs, that is hormonal. And it's important that we test your progesterone. And we can do that. I have at home blood spot test kit. So if you don't want to go to a lab because you're nervous about seeing or being in public or being in a setting where you're going to be exposed, potentially, we can do that at home. But progesterone, a topical cream, one of my favorites is Source Naturals. And I have a few others that I love depending on what you want to get. We can go without soy. We can go without, some of the additional items. But overall, a progesterone cream is not a bad idea to consume. And there are ways to consume it. Some of the best ways to consume it are to put a little dab in the kind of crook of your elbow on your wrist. I actually do a big dollop here and I blend, and then I blend with my wrist to my elbow. So you can do that. You can also put the progesterone cream over your breast. And if you have any type of fibrosis or fibroid cystic breast tissue, denser breast tissue, that's very beneficial. We have a lot of receptivity to progesterone in our breast tissue. Then also over the ovaries is another point where you can do that. So that's number 2. Number 3 is the thyroid. If you have any thyroid imbalances, that will trigger fatigue. One of my favorite products is Thyroplex, and it is a very positive glandular, so it can kind of bolster the thyroid gland. We can have hypothyroidism. You can have Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. You could have Hashimoto's. You could have hyperthyroidism with Hashimoto's. There's a whole assortment of blends of thyroid imbalances, but many of them cause fatigue and dips in energy and an inability to sustain healthy workouts or your activity levels. So definitely balancing the thyroid is critical. I think it's 4th. Yeah, 4th item is to get a lot of sleep. And I say this like we don't necessarily need a quantity, we need quality. And so getting good REM-oriented sleep, and I have my REM sleep cycle products here. Let me put this over here. This is a product that I use frequently. I don't always use it every night, but there's certain times where I just like, I'm not feeling as tired as I should. And it's usually I've had a stressful day. Like the other day, Gabriel had like a horrible meltdown before bedtime. It was kind of crazy. But REM sleep has a whole bunch of nutrients. There's a ton of nutrients in here that help you sleep. They lower your cortisol. They keep your temperature balanced. They give you calming nerve tonics. So there's a lot of herbals in here. It's very, very potent. I see a question about progesterone. Does the progesterone cream require the lymph system to get where it is going? No, it does not. So it's going to be topical. It's going to enter the blood. The lymph is not a transport mechanism like that. The blood is. The lymph is your detox, your garbage disposal. Okay, so we're not talking about hair loss today. We're talking about fatigue. But I do have videos on that if you want to check that, Lucianne. Now, the REM sleep, you can grab that down below. They have small little packets. You can get 10 pack, you get 30 pack. But REM sleep is really good because it'll calm your body. It calms the brain. So if your brain is going, and I know for a lot of us, we kind of are absorbing our day, and then we sit down and all of a sudden, like, we start thinking about all these things and conversations. And, comment down below if you do that, because I totally do that. Yeah, so Birdhouse Barbie, there's no way for me to change how it shows. It shows regularly on YouTube, but it's inverted. So REM sleep is one of the products, and there's a whole assortment of other items that you can take. So I will drink a kava tea. Kava is a very wonderful Peruvian nerve tonic. When I take the tinctures, I do them straight. They're kind of intense, but it literally is so calming. I will feel numb, like my tongue is numb. That's how you know it is highly effective, but it calms the body. I do the herbal tincture, and then sometimes I'll take a kava tea. I love this yogi stress relief tea. I have a link to that as well that has kava and some other calming, like passion flower and even valerian are very potent. But definitely check that out. Sleeping well is going to be critical for you getting your sleep. And this is something too, a lot of people don't realize they have sleep apnea. They're waking up, they've got, airway constriction. And then if we have allergy season, that could be another reason for some inflammation that might cause snoring. So there can be deeper components within the sleep pattern, and you want to investigate those. If you kind of feel like you've covered everything and you're still imbalanced, a sleep study will tell us more about your sleep habits, and if we need to look at oxygen or CPAP machine. But that can be life-changing for my patients. And this sleep apnea itself, every time the patient cannot breathe, it triggers fight or flight. It triggers cortisol. It is a constant, just repetitive stress. I'm not breathing. And the brain, the body responds. And that can be a major underlying factor. So when I see really intense cortisol, it's the first thing. We need to get a sleep test, and we need to analyze what's going on and why aren't you sleeping well. And that tends to be a major underlying component. So definitely consider that. Fifth is activity levels. In fact, a lot of people are either too active or not active enough. And so it's this balance between, what is activity? 30 to 45 minutes, brisk walking, good exercise, high intensity cardio, smaller impact. But if you're already fatigued, sometimes too much activity can overwhelm and actually trigger cortisol. I've had multiple videos, not in the live, but in my regular edited videos, where I've talked about, we have scientific research that shows any workout over 30 to 40, 45 minutes will trigger cortisol production. And it's a reason why a lot of my professional athletes and my really intense athletic individuals, they're doing triathlons and marathons and things like that. And they're semi-pro competitive, they have high cortisol depending on the type of workout they have. And so that is something to monitor. If you aren't active enough, get active. It's best to be active in the early morning. The sunlight also will help set your balance with sleep. And so that alone can be a good kind of double whammy, like exercise early in the morning, get good sunlight, you'll be sleeping better. Your brain kind of recalibrates, and that's just natural, totally free. And we can do it safely as well. So big win there. Number 6 is usually something that if you're taking one or multiple medications, there can be side effects from drugs that you're taking, side effects from pain meds to anti-inflammatories to, neurotransmitter balancing medications, antidepressants, NSAIDs, things like that. So that's one thing. Assess your catalog of pharmaceuticals and see if this is a common side effect. And that pairs up very well with traditionally certain medications yield certain deficiencies. And so number 7 is actually, let's take care of your nutrient deficiencies. I find that we will test folks on B vitamins. So it's often, B vitamins are often in deficiency with a lot of nutrients. But also when we're stressed, we use B more. and we need more B. And then depending on, for women, certain times of the month, we might need more B as well to kind of balance some of the physiological changes going on as our hormones are changing. So B is critical to look at. And definitely if you have low energy, B vitamins should be tested. And a lot of times they'll just test B12, but you want to test your whole array of B vitamins. And for the folks that are the individual who asked about hair loss, folic acid is a B vitamin. So sometimes just taking B vitamins are a good way to balance the body. So I have a liposomal B that I use. It's literally like a little click and you hold it under your tongue. It's really orange. And, after I hold on under my tongue for 30 seconds, I swallow. I have to make sure I drink a good amount of fluid because it'll turn, your teeth just very gently a little orange. It doesn't stain it, but it definitely, it's getting integrated. And orangey color, that's the B. And also your B deficiency, if you are taking a multivitamin, quality multivitamin or B complex, and you're not noticing a urination process, then your body's actually articulating what you're consuming, meaning there's likely deficiency. So that's another way to test deficiency as well. I love B shots. So lipo B, where they're giving you a shot into intramuscular or, kind of transdermal. Very, very impactful. Okay, so the other issue could be a mutation, a gene mutation or gene defect that we can test for is MTHFR. That can be an underlying factor for anemia, and it can cause low iron levels. And low iron is another reason why a lot of folks have low levels of energy. And so iron deficiency should definitely be analyzed. And that is a nutritional deficiency. That is also another reason why you want to increase your multi-minerals, your ionic, trace ionic multi-minerals. Those are critical. Number 8 is actually very common with any individuals that might have thyroid imbalances, poor sleep, don't exercise, and individuals that have cortisol imbalances, even low progesterone. So a lot of these things above that I've talked about can actually create depression. And so addressing depression sometimes is making sure you're running through the list above and highlighting and targeting those. And I've actually been able to list out the details for you. So I have my links where you can get a lot of these products here on Instagram. This just now is populated to IGTV. Somehow I got authorized to give you longer content up to an hour. So that's now where all my shows are being housed and they're permanent. Yay. So that content doesn't go away like it did before. But iron deficiency, like In Harmony Gal says, that would be me, iron deficiency with perimenopause. Very, very common. And I actually received a message via Instagram about a similar case where perimenopause causes all sorts of imbalances, progesterone being one of them as well, and iron similarly. So that can be critical. The other thing on the iron front, if you have an iron skillet and, like us, we eat eggs and, I'll saute onions, you can use your iron skillet to transfer some iron. And it is very impactful. So I often will have folks, I'll have them coat it with ghee, get it warm, add in, 1 or 2 eggs to scramble, add in a ton of kelp flakes for seasoning, some turmeric. And that's very potent at kind of addressing a lot of these different challenges. Now, my 9th and final is actually hydration. So making sure you're drinking water. I grabbed this because this is the water bottle I had on my desk. But you want to make sure you're staying well hydrated, especially now, like yesterday, we were out in the yard. Oh, it is hot and you get sweaty and you need more hydration when it's hot and humid. And so a lot of times that deficiency of fluids can cause imbalances in our energy levels. So fatigue being a big one of them, that's another way to manage it. So those are some tips for you. I've got some information I want to share with you guys from some friends here. We have Karen Cook. Blue light blocking glasses at night really help me when I use my devices after 7 p.m. Yes, I love that. And you can also get, like I have on my desktop, I have the blue strip. Brian got me one of those because I was working later and editing and totally felt like it messed me up. And that's actually one of the reasons why I don't edit past like 5 or 6. And I also can't shoot with my lights after a certain period of time because it totally affects me. Let's see. The other thing too, I do want to highlight. So if you guys choose to or not to, check out some of the supplements I recommend, I do want you, if you are a supplement consumer, I do want to encourage you to sign up for FullScript. Set yourself up with an account because we have a big sale coming up. And I don't know all the details, but I definitely want you all to get in, and you'll get the email as I get more details with this sale. But it's something that doesn't happen all the time. But if you regularly use multi-minerals, multivitamins, good clean skincare product, hair care products, you have pets and you are, they're holistic in their orientation, you have kids, we have a lot of stuff in the store, and thousands and thousands of products. I already give you 10% off, but it's definitely a way for you to check that out. So please do. I encourage you all to check that out. And like Dwayne says, 1 year I had 15 cases of bronchitis, and after a sleep study and using a CPAP machine, my bronchitis cases dropped to nothing. See, that's awesome. And Phyllis, hot flashes, night sweats interrupt my sleep. I'm 53 and menopausal. Phyllis, I actually love to recommend Ephisoy. So I don't know if you're consuming that, but that's really great for the hot flashes and night sweats. It has adaptogenic herbs in it. It also has DIM, which is very good at balancing some of those hormones. Shatavari, yes, Jackie, Shatavari is another one that's really great. And Paradise Save, I just used REM sleep last night. It does help me sleep. Yay! It is great stuff. So definitely check out Healthy Cell. Is actually doctor created, physician, functional medicine physician created. He is a leading stem cell researcher, really potent, powerful source of a whole bunch of good nutrition. Clyde Simmons, yay, $9.99 super chat. Thank you. She says, just listening to you helps me calm down. Thanks for the daily news and data. Gonna miss these daily shows. So I will pare down. I'm not going to go away. I promise you that. Next week, we're going to have to work it out. We got to figure out, I might do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But I'll go live on Monday and we'll see how it goes. So I might be reconfiguring things here where I can be closer to Gabriel if he needs me. At this point, he's usually like right up above, and that's a little too far away when it's just he and I. So, and when I get to talking, I'm not always paying attention. So let's see. Oh, and Shatavari solved your hot flashes. Yay. Shatavari is fantastic. Glam and Kalai, you are the only doctor I want to see. When are you taking new patients? I'm in Atlanta. I am as well. Until I get childcare, and things kind of open back up and have some sort of okay number, the clinic is closed. So that's a challenge. I'm challenged with balancing mom life and work life. So I'll keep you all posted, I promise. And yeah, Gabriel's going to be a co-pilot. He might be he might bust in on me a few times and like say hi to you guys, to my friends. He calls you all my friends. So he'll say, are you going to say hi to your friends? And I even told him, like, I walked into my office here and I said, okay, honey, I'm going to go live on my show. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go live watching TV. So he's so cute. I love my little man. Okay. So good. Yeah. So Kay Jefferson said, yay, I'm needing to stock up on quite a few supplements. So definitely the stocking up is going to be, you'll definitely want to do your stock up. I always do my stock ups. And what else can I tell you? Oh, I'm very excited. So here's some news. Any of you who have lipedema or think you have lipedema, where you might be carrying a lot of excess adipose fat tissue, or just have a lot of like swelling and bulkiness, heavy legs, painful limbs, painful legs. I had a really great chat yesterday afternoon with Patty Cornute, who runs Lipedema Fitness. It's a group on Facebook, and she and I are working on some collabs. So on the 28th, she and I are going to go live. She's actually having me go live on her Facebook group, or to her group. So please check them out on Facebook. It's Lipedema Fitness. And Patty runs that. She has 6,500 ladies who are part of it. Oh my goodness, Monica Casey, $49.99. That is like our largest super chat. Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Monica says, Dr. M, I want to thank you so much for all the helpful information you give us. I look forward to seeing you and everyone in the chat each morning. I hope it will continue. Absolutely. So for sure, I actually look forward to it too. And it gives me a true sense of purpose. I really selfishly like to do things to help others, and it makes me feel good. That's the selfish part of it. And not being able to work with people like I've been used to is challenging. I know all of us are having these new challenges, and this I hope is some way for me to have some small little, particle of impact here, especially with this this pandemic. It's not going anywhere. So thank you, Monica. I'm so grateful. That is so sweet. So so lipedema, she is going to have me on. We're going to talk about hormones. We're going to be talking about fibrosis. And then we're going to talk about stress and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that'll be specific to lipedema. I believe that to get into her group, you have to answer some questions and qualify. It is a closed group. But if you do have it or feel like you have it, there's a lot of folks that don't get diagnosed. But I will tell you 11% of all women have lipedema. 11%. That's a massive quantity, a massive population size. So when I look at today, we've had about 800 on at any given time. 10%, that's 80 individuals that could possibly get some benefit. So definitely will be good. So that will be good. And then I'm going to, Patty and I had a sit down interview with Patty a year ago, last March, and my audio failed, so the technical issues. And so we are redoing my interview, and I'm going to produce it and get it out. It's going to be edited. I'm going to try and figure out Zoom or some sort of other mechanism where we record a video interview. But you'll learn more about Patty, her story. She's very inspiring. She's awesome. She is just killing it. And I'm very inspired and love her workout. So follow her on Instagram, you guys. Check out, anybody can follow her on Instagram. It's Lipedema Fitness. And she does these awesome live fitness videos. So has an awesome blog as well. So I hope you will check that out. And so as far as we stand right now, we're going to go live again Monday, 9 a.m. We'll see how it goes. If I've got a green light, Gabriel's good, I'm going to try and continue this. So just bear with me. We're doing a whole bunch of organizing here at home, and I got to get Brian equipped so when he goes into the office on Monday, it's going to feel so weird. But anyway, have an awesome weekend, friends. Definitely please follow me over on Instagram. It's gardening time. So I'm going to be out in my garden a lot. I'm going to share with you a whole bunch of plants. My kale, I got to do my kale chips today. And I'm very excited. So harvesting is really exciting. So thanks, everybody. Hey, Anita and Monica, thank you so much. You are absolutely a doll. And Clive Simmons, thank you for the live chats. That is so, I can't even thank you enough. So thank you. And thanks, everybody on Instagram. It's been wonderful seeing all of you. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, get outside, get grounded, take your shoes off, and enjoy nature. It's very grounding, and we need that, especially if you're like us, we're still staying kind of enclosed. All right, friends, have a good day. See you later. Bye. Bye, YouTube. Thank you so much. Have a good day.